Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tech tip on automotive primers for your vehicle's bodywork. Are they waterproof? Will they stop rust? Let's jump down the rabbit hole and have a look. Righto, so recently I've seen a lot of automotive YouTubers doing bodywork on their vehicles, coating the bare steel in primer and then leaving it out in the elements. And I've also seen a slew of old projects up for sale that have been, say, sandblasted and then etch coated or etch primed. The question is primer waterproof? And generally speaking, the answer to that question is hell no. Like, primer generally is a porous product, but there are a few exceptions to the rule. Now here's where it becomes a bit of a minefield because it's dependent on the paint manufacturer, but one product that 100% will stay the same across the manufacturer is epoxy primer. Epoxy primer, no matter who makes it, should be waterproof, and it is also very resistant to chemicals as well. So it is a very good product for putting on the bare steel of your vehicle. Although you do have to make sure that the metal of the vehicle has been prepped properly, so obviously you don't want any rust on there, but it also needs to be keyed. So if you haven't sandblasted the steel panel, then you need to go over it with 80 grit sandpaper for keying the steel, and then your epoxy primer is going to adhere properly and you're not going to have any problems. And you can leave that outside in the elements, and after 6 months it should still be like perfectly fine. It does depend on the paint manufacturer, and that's possibly pushing a bit because you don't want to leave things outside for too long, because everything rusts if you leave it outside for too long. But generally speaking, epoxy primer is, across the board of the manufacturers, going to be a waterproof primer that you don't have to worry about once it's on. Now a lot of you are probably already sitting there going, oh, etch primer, etch primer, etch primer is great. And etch primer is great for what it does, but it has its drawbacks. And as I said, dependent on the manufacturer of the product, it may or may not be waterproof. For instance, the DeBeer 1K etch primer, that is epoxy based, and so not only does it etch the metal, but it will actually be waterproof and protect the metal. Whereas the Eastwood 1K etch primer, it says nothing in its product blurb about it being waterproof. It says that it's like great and this, that and the other, and like it's a true etch primer. Yeah, true etch primer. Sure, it etches the metal and it'll stick to the metal, but it doesn't say anywhere that it's actually waterproof. And so that's what you have to look out for. Anything else like a 2K surfacer, a 1K surfacer, all your polyurethane, polyester, high builds and whatnot, they are 100% porous, and if you put them onto the steel and leave it outside, it will rust. Okay. Another thing to keep in mind with etch primers, and again it's completely dependent on the manufacturer of the product, so you need to go and read the TDS, the technical data sheet, before you even purchase the product. And that's because you may be thinking that you can put your etch primer on and then do all your bodywork or your filler and this, that and the other, but it will say in the TDS what can be used on top of that etch primer. And for instance, the DeBeer etch primer, it specifically states that both epoxy primer cannot be used on top of it, and neither can this, that and the other. The product in DeBeer's case is just there for say a brand new front wing or arch. You've got it down to bare steel. It is there for etching the steel, getting a primer down to be able to put on your base coat and your clear coat. It is not there for doing body work. So again, is completely 100% dependent on the manufacturer of that etch primer as to whether or not you can actually do your body working on top. The reason for that being is that because it has chemicals in it that actually do the etching, those chemicals can then react with the filler that you're using on top. So that's why they will say in the TDS whether or not it can actually be used as a base coat for doing your bodywork on. So yeah, quick tech tip for you there. If you want a primer that is 100% going to be waterproof, that you can put on your bare steel, and you know you're not going to be able to get all the bodywork done for like months on end, and you don't want to have any recurring rust issues, then epoxy primer is the way to go. You just got to make sure that the bare steel is keyed correctly for it to adhere properly. If you want to go down the etch primer route, then like I said, do check the product that you're thinking of using, because it may or may not be what you're looking for. Okay, so I hope you found that handy, helpful. If you did, please hit that like button. If you think someone you know will find that useful, then share it around. And of course, if you like what I get up to on my channel, then please subscribe. I'm currently in week 6, 7 of level 4 lockdown for COVID. It's getting really boring, but at least, you know, got something to do with doing these videos. So I hope everyone else is doing well out there, and catch you on the next one.